Welcome to another Retainer Designer live stream. Usually I do this on Fridays, but lately I think Saturdays have been doing what I need to be doing because the busier I get during the week, the less time I have to live stream. So Saturday it is. But today we are doing a special thing, and that is a CDT exam. I'll talk a little bit more about what the CDT exam is as I do this project. But suffice it to say, it's a national certification program for dental technicians with specialties, including specialties ortho, denture, crown and bridge, that kind of stuff. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be doing one of the models. I have it here. We're going to be doing this model. It is actually the upper model. This is a practice model that I did. So how this came about is on my Patreon channel. Thank you to all those that support my Patreon channel. I got a question about the CDT exam, and so I started digging into my storage building and finding all my stuff from lab school. Because in lab school, we got to practice these things over and over and over again until we got them right. So that's what I found. These are actually my practice models. I think they're actually from the exam mold that you get from NBC. And so there's a link down below if you're interested in that. But other than that, hopefully everybody can hear me. Y'all are doing good. Mahila, how are you doing? Nice to see you here again. What are the cases today? Don't tell a patient's name, please. That would break. Yes, try my hardest not to break patient names, break the HIPAA. But if you look here, look at that name. I am breaking HIPAA right now. Oh wait, that's my name. So yeah, we had to put our names in these when we did these in lab school so we could tell them apart. So the examiner, the teacher could tell them apart. So that actually has my name. So this actually isn't a patient in real life. What you get when you get the CDT exam, you get these silicone molds and you pour them up, and you can pour up a whole bunch. And in fact, I don't know if you can see this very good, but you can actually see kind of where I poured it up from the mold. So I don't know if this is exactly what you'll get on the CDT exam, but yeah, no breaking the thing today. At the opening Olympic ceremony, Celine Dion sang for the first time in 4 years. She sang at the Olympic ceremony? Very good. I saw some weird pictures from there. That I feel like the Olympic ceremony is just getting weirder and weirder every year. But I do love the Olympics. As a former track and field collegiate person, I do like watching my race, which is the 800 meters and the mile relay. That's what I did in college, if y'all didn't know that. As a little bit more of an introduction, my name is Cade. My wife and I own a small little orthodontic lab here in the country in Texas. And we have a little building, a little 15 by 36 building that we converted into a lab with sink and restroom and all the kind of a tiny home. And so this is what we do for a living. So I like to stream, I like to show what we're doing, but I also have my CDT license. And so that's what I'm going over, is what I went through to get that CDT exam, that certification, and just one aspect of it. So, have you seen the trailer Escaping Joe? I have not. I need to remember to look that up. That sounded exciting when you were talking about it last time. Dental things, how are you doing? Long time no see. Exciting topic, yes. Yeah, if y'all don't know, Dental Things is a dental assistant channel just like mine. I do dental lab tech. He teaches dental assistants. And so he has a lot of great topics. So, in fact, one of the exam things, so this is the handbook, and you can download it at the link below. It's 40-something pages. And so the CDT exam is 3 exams, 2 written ones, and then 1 practical one. We're working on one of the practical cases that you would be tested on. But one of the written exams is comprehensive, which covers all dental laboratory technology, which is tooth morphology, tooth numbering, anatomy, that kind of stuff. just so you know. And then he has some great videos on tooth anatomy, morphology, all that stuff that would help in this. Vishnu Monahan, hello, how are you doing? Veronica, how are you doing? Nice to see you again. Nice to see you tuning back in. But so, without further ado, let's get started on this. Like I said before, I do have some exam materials. This, I print it. It's front and back. It goes over everything if you're interested. So I'm gonna read something in here. What is the CDT exam? Just for those that need to know. The certified, so CDT is Certified Dental Technician. It's a program. It's a national program. Since certification is voluntary, it represents not only compliance with documented standards, but also special personal commitment to quality and professionalism. So yeah, it's voluntary. So you don't have to take this exam. You don't have to be a CDT to work in a lab. So it's voluntary, which actually means those that want to take it are actually those that really love this industry and want to be certified. Which dental things, I think, I don't know if it's nationwide. I know, say Texas, you have to be a certified or a registered dentalist, RDA, to work as a dental assistant. So I think that's standard. But this one is voluntary. I'll explain how Texas is different in a little bit. Each CDT has met the standards of required knowledge and applied skills through the successful completion of examinations and compliance with continuing technical and regulatory education requirements. So this is CDT is also recognized and endorsed by the National Association of Dental Laboratories, the American Dental Association, and American College of Prosthodontists. It also receives outstanding support and participation from U.S. military services. The CDT program adheres to national certification program standards. So that's just a basic what the CDT is, a certified dental technician. And so what you have to do is you get those models in from once you sign up for the exam. You'll get the exam papers in, and I have a few screenshots of my old exam from 2003 when I took this. So I've had my CDT for 21 years. But you pour up those models, and you got to make a set of study models. Now it was in storage, so they're a little beat up. But how many of you remember study models? You can see I got some schmutz on there. But they're soaked and everything. So you have to make a set of study models and bring them to the exam, and they're going to grade them. And then you got to bring other models. Now these are all in different colors and stuff, but the one we're doing today is the upper Hawley, and this one has arrow clasp on this side, ball clasp. Let me get a better shot of this. Has an arrow clasp on one side, ball clasp, 2C clasp, and labial bow 3-3. And it looks like it doesn't mention about where the acrylic needs to be here, but we'll look at the instructions real quick. And then, so you have 5 hours to make these 3 appliances. So this is a lower Hawley with a sagittal Schwartz, or sagittal expansion screw. Let me see if I can get this brighter so you can see it. Now the colors I just played around while I was in school, but 2 arrow clasp, 2 lower Adams clasp, and 3-3 labial bow. And then for your fix, you actually have to do 2 of these models, and you have to fit bands on one set it aside, come back, fit bands again, and then make your appliance. So you'll get graded on just the bands by themselves, how they fit and how they're adapted. And then you just make a lingual arch with soldered spurs here, and that's it. So you got 5 hours to do this, mainly these 3 appliances. And you may be thinking, no problem, that is no problem at all. And granted, many of you that take this CDT exam, this is a cakewalk for you, but you will struggle with the written. and you'll struggle with the comprehensive written, which answers questions from all over. So when you take this, somebody always struggles with one part of the CDT exam. Either it's a written comprehensive, which covers all the dental laboratory technology, the written specialty, which covers the ortho only, or they'll struggle with actually making the appliances. Now, when I took this, my final exam for graduating dental lab school was the comprehensive exam. So we took that, and then at the same time they let me go ahead and take the written specialty, and so I took it at the same time, passed both of those, and then a few months later, I think I graduated in August 2001, and then in October 2001 I went to a testing site, and so I had to gather my lathe, my equipment, my wires, everything I needed. I needed to gather all that and take it to an exam site, which was Shepherd's Air Force Base in Wichita Falls, and that was an experience in itself, because you had to make sure you had everything. You had ball clasp, you had wires, you had pliers, you had sticky wax, you had a torch, you had everything, because they didn't provide. They provided basic stuff like I think I brought my own lathe, shields, everything. But now it's remote testing. So the written tests are actually let me, while I talk about this, let me prep this model. The written tests are actually online now. I don't think they do much in-person written testing, but if you're familiar with college exams or even high school exams, it is a multiple choice test. I believe the comprehensive is 160 questions, and the written is 180 questions. So the 180 questions. So I had to pass that exam to pass, my lab school, the comprehensive exam, and then I went ahead and paid the extra fee and took the written exam. So, but what I was saying, going back before, was I was still very slow with these appliances. So I was very nervous about taking this test, because I knew I could make these appliances, but to make them perfect like the examiners want. And there's 3 examiners that were at these tests, so you turn them in and they grade them right there. So I think you get a good idea of what you're making. But like I was saying before, these are remote exams now, which is very cool. I was a part of the tail end of that. So full disclosure, I was on the NBC board of trustees for 3 years at a 3-year term. So I got to see a lot of this. And so part of it was during COVID, and they were actually rolling out the remote testing for the practical exam for doing these remote. And it landed right when COVID hit, and we couldn't do in-person testing anymore for these cases. So they actually were able to roll out the remote testing. And so you actually are like, I'm set up now. You got your laptop with a camera, and you got your cell phone like this over here. This is my cell phone. You got it on your desk while you're working, and then there's a proctor sitting here like this, watching you, making sure you're not cheating, making sure you're not like going, oh look, I just finished, looky there. No, you got to carry the cameras around, and at a certain point the proctor actually makes you like carve in a number or a letter or something into the model, so that when you do the acrylic, it pulls those letters and numbers into the acrylic. So you can't, at the end, when you're packing up all this stuff to ship it to the examiners, you're not packing someone else's retainer. It actually has to say the numbers and letters on there. So then all those cases come in to the examiners, and they judge and grade these things. But let's look. I have a shared screen here. So let's see. These are pictures I have taken of the actual exam. Hope y'all can see that. But these are the error codes The codes used, like exposed wire, and not contacting teeth, not undercut, mixed wires, not labeled, not neat, poor appearance. So there's all these things you got to make sure that you don't do, or that you do, whatever. So these are the grading standards. There's your preliminary work, which is the study cast, ground and trim, overall neatness, density, cast surface, blah, blah, blah. Maxillary Hawley appliance type. So that's what we're working on today. And then these are what they expect. And y'all can pause and read this if you want. But contour of anterior wire, position of anterior wire, make sure it's in the middle third. Length of regaining loops. The loops must be 2 millimeters past the gingival crest. Ball class must be adapted surface, circumferential, C class. Acrylic surfaces must be highly polished, no porosity or bubbles. 1/2 to 2 millimeters in linguals of all teeth, and the incisal 1/3. Acrylic must be finished to the point how to contour. So it kind of tells you step by step what each of these means. So you may have to learn a lot of these, like the height of contour. What does that mean? And acrylic must cover the papillae, cingulum of anterior teeth, that kind of stuff. And so it actually gives you a little bit of work. For some reason, I don't have the maxillary Hawley pictures, but these are what they expect the lowers to look like. And then items you must bring to the examination site. Again, this is before they had remote testing. So supplies, O2A, O30, O32, O36 stainless steel. So all that stuff. And then preliminary work, maxillary Hawley. So contour position of anterior arch wire, length position of graining loop, ball clasp, circumferential class, condition of clasp and wires, acrylic quality, acrylic thickness, finish and polish. So if y'all are interested, I do have these posted in my Patreon account. But you can actually, this is a really great guide. I downloaded it probably back in 2013, or maybe this was made in 2013. I downloaded it a few years ago. But it actually shows you what they're expecting. So this is the model prep for the bands, what the bands should look like when they're fit. And then you set that aside, you do it all again with the bands, and you make the appliance. You can see somebody was very good at wire bending here. Terminal ends of the lingual arch are resting upon within the occlusal third of the bands. It tells you step by step, and you're going to be graded on each one of these. So it'll make you very nervous, even if you're pretty experienced. Model prep for the lower. Let's go look at the upper. And that's what we're going to be working on today. While I'm waiting, I'm going to paint my second coat. If I was a smart guy, I would have duplicated this model before I made this. But I'm not, so we're just going to make it straight on the model. But you can do any of these on any practice model. So maxillary Hawley, you want the wire in the middle third. You want the gingival, the loops 1-2 millimeters above the height of the loops should extend 2 millimeters beyond the gingival crest, so the top of the gingival crest. And then it shows you what the wire placement should be. And then where the loop should be, should not touch the tissue, should touch the tooth. And then the ball clasp. I don't know why this one I have has an arrow clasp on there. I think it was so this is what the finish looks like. I think it was you can see this one has steps. This does not have steps. So it looks like you do not have to step the labial bow like I did here. So you see how I stepped the labial bow in? Looks like you don't have to do that as long as it's touching each one of the teeth. Because if I go back to this, you'll see it's actually extended in front of these teeth. So this is full palette. I don't read in the instructions where it needs to be full palette acrylic. And then I don't know if we'll get to doing the acrylic today. I don't know how long this will take me. I'd like to get it all done in an hour. So we'll see. So let's get started. I don't have a pencil. Hold on. I gotta get a pencil. Nope. I know I have a pencil somewhere. See, I was not prepared for this exam. So we got the height of the contour here, right? So we need to be 2 millimeters there. Let me flip back to that. Make sure I'm doing this right. Yeah, and then right in the middle, kind of the height of contour of here. Cuspids are bisected on their long axis is what this says. So we'll bisect this cuspid with the height of contour. We'll eyeball 2 millimeters. So that's how tall the loops need to be. And then we just need to make this wire middle third of the incisors. All right, so let's do this. I don't have, I need to look, I need to find, I have this exam guide somewhere, and I don't know how much this has changed since 20 years, but I don't think much has changed. Now I think the study models, they could probably be digital now. I wouldn't be surprised of that. Sorry, looking for the instructions. It doesn't tell me what size wire. I'm gonna go with 030 on the labial bow, but it could be 032. So just fair warning on that, it could be 032. Veronica, glad to be here, just doing some gaming at the moment. I wish I could be doing that at the moment. I got too much stuff to do, but love me some gaming. That's my take a break area. I want to take 180 questions for fun, just winging it. That's a great question. I actually thought about retaking the CDT exam. So I'm looking at building a CDT exam course for those that are really serious about wanting to take and pass their CDT exam. And so yeah, I want to really take the CDT exam again. But I don't know if it's going to mess up because you get an actual CDT number. Mine is 210885-00, and you use that to turn in your continuing education. So you actually, once you get your CDT credentials, you pass and you get your now certified dental technician. You have to keep up with your credits. So, or you have to pay an annual fee, it's like $150 or $170 a year, and then you need 12 hours of continuing education. And so that's where the state of Texas comes in, and I'll explain that in a minute. But let's get started with this. You need 12 hours of continuing education a year to maintain your CDT. So that's the fun part. And it's just a matter of, hey, you're keeping up with the times, you're keeping up with the technology, you're just improving, you're constantly improving yourself. Of those 12 hours, 6 hours need to be scientific. So like learning new techniques or learning about new materials or even, 3D printing, that kind of thing. But let me, as I bend this, I need to be a little more careful than I usually am. Let me make a mark right here. I'm actually going to use my bird beaks to bend this 90. But the state of Texas is a little different. There are some states, many states do not require CDT, but there are some that do. And those are, Florida is a little bit of a CDT. They require continuing education. And since CDT requires continuing education, a lot of people just become a CDT because they got to do the continuing education anyway. So I'm actually using this loop former. I usually use this one because I usually don't like loops being this tall. I don't think doctors do either, but hey, this is what they ask for in the exam, so you better do it. But so the state of Texas requires every commercial laboratory to register with the State Board of Dental Examiners. And so I need to get my 3-prong. So that means to be able to register with the State Board of Dental Examiners, you need to have a CDT on staff 30 hours a week. So the owner doesn't necessarily have to be a CDT, but it helps because then you're in control of everything. Now you got me all worried. Let's zoom in here. So I've got this, my loop is a little tall. You can see my mark. So I'm going to actually lower this down. So yeah, the CDT is required to be on staff 30 hours a week. So that's why most owners in Texas become a CDT, because if you own a lab and you have a CDT working for you, they kind of run the show, because if they leave, you got to get another CDT in there quick, or you could lose your lab license. And so, why did Texas do this? Well, they know that. Oh, I marked that in the wrong spot. So to be able to take the CDT exam, so this is another aspect, you need at least, I believe it's 5 years of attested dental lab work. You gotta have to have worked in a dental laboratory field for 5 years. So you gotta have some knowledge. They just want to make sure you can pass this thing. Or graduated from a 2-year dental lab school, and that is what the path I took. So I was an in-house lab tech for a few years, but I went on to I wanted to open my own lab. Found out in the state of Texas you had to have your CDT to be able to register your lab. And then doctors in the state of Texas, it's in the Dental Practice Act, they cannot knowingly send to an unregistered lab. So they have to send to registered labs. So that's why labs need to register. So I think I got that pretty good. It might be a little tall. We'll see. I can make a little adjustments later. So I'm just going to keep moving along here. But there's a lot of states that don't require CDTs, and that's fine. My good friend Steve Zara's our dental lab. We were having a discussion. Could he take and pass this exam? Yeah, flying colors. Does he need to? No, not really. Those that want to take this exam that are in states that do not require a CDT on staff, they're just doing it out of love for the industry. Most doctors, they have no clue what a CDT is, and I don't blame them. Nobody ever teaches them. There are some that do know what a CDT is, and going back to the state of Texas, why did they require CDT on staff? Well, you got to have at least 5 years of dental laboratory experience to even take the exam. Now, the last numbers I heard, to be able to pass the exam, you need 9 to 12 years of lab experience if you didn't go to school. So the state of Texas is thinking, you also have to have a proficient use of the English language, because the test is in English. It's not in any other language. So let's average your experience in the lab is what, 10 years to be able to take the exam. You have you're proficient in English to be able to talk to the doctors. And so the doctors that are required to send work to registered labs, that they know there's at least somebody on staff 30 hours a week that has a decade of experience and can read prescriptions and knows the basic amount of knowledge for passing this exam, because this exam is tough. If you're experienced, if you've got tons of experience in a dental lab making appliances, this part's going to be super easy for you as long as you can follow instructions. The written part may struggle a little bit because depending on where they get their knowledge from, the questions, which the Air Force manual used to be the #1 guide. But I think in that manual that I just had in my hand, that downloadable one, it actually gives you the books that they reference the questions from. So you can study those books and get the questions from. But like I said, some people will struggle with some aspect of the exam process. And so it forces you to study for sure. And like Michaela was saying, I kind of want to just take the test just to wing it and see how you do. I agree. I do too. I kind of wonder if I'd pass it. How much of the knowledge have I lost? Kind of like they complain that you learn trigonometry in school, but you never use it when you graduate. So heck, I took 2 years of Spanish in high school, and I can't speak much Spanish. Just basic words, and it's probably food. Dental things. I'm training as an in-house lab tech now. Dentures. So thankfully, still can reach out to new dental thing. Yeah. So last time we talked, you were actually collecting a lot of your equipment from like eBay and stuff. And I think I put it in the last live stream. So if you want to go look that up, I put a link to, I've started it was a Facebook post or something. I've started a database of all the equipment you need for an ortho lab. And that's where I'm starting with my online school, is what do you need to open an ortho lab, in 2024. Because if you look at a book from 2010, it's not going to have anything about digital in there. Now this looks crappy. This needs to be down. So let me back this up, because if I go and try to tilt this down, you can see those acrylic tags in there are hidden. So let me back this up a little bit. So as you can see, I am taking my time with this. So this may actually have to be a two-parter. I probably will redo this for the official CDT Exam online course. Right now, this one is live stream, so I'm answering questions as I go to kind of get an idea of what questions people will have about the exam that want to take it. So those that are watching the recording, please put your questions in the comments below. I will be taking them into effect, putting them in the course that I will be building hopefully over this next year. This hands-on part is probably going to be the easiest part to teach. The questions, I got to do a review myself on there. So I'm still high. Come on, Kate. Do a little bend. A little cheat bend. There we go. And one of the things is this needs to be passive. So you can't go and make this labial bow like super tight to make sure it gets where it needs to be. So let's tighten this loop up, both of these loops. There we go. I wonder if I drew my line a little low. I think I did. Can y'all see that? I like this placement, not that. But I noticed on my practice one I did back 20 years ago, my labial bow is a little low. So I think I might have got some points off for that. So let me wax this down. And this is something you gotta think about taking with you to those exams. But so those that want to take it now are really lucky. If you have an ortho lab that you can take the exam in, you can take the exam. You don't have to go to a strange lab and deal with their strange equipment. And it's like, do they have a steamer there that we get access to? You know, you just don't know what they have on hand, so you got to just take everything with you. All right, I'm going to leave that there. So let's move on to the C-class. So I saw your list. It's well, good. Also, yeah, that list will have links to everything I use. I'm making a full database for the online course so that you have complete access. So I have my lathe that I have, and I'll have 3 other brands of lathe and links to where you can buy them. And I'm going to try to work with some of the manufacturers, see if I can get some discounts for y'all for some of these things that you buy. Like what's behind me here, all these acrylics. JBC actually has a starter kit, and it's like a couple grand, granted, but it's every single acrylic color she has. I mean, you start producing retainers day one with her kit. You just got to get the wires and stuff. So I'm going to be working with her to try to get a kit going that y'all can buy. It has the pliers you need, the wires you need, the models you need to take the online course. Dr. Lopez, saludos. How are you doing? Tuning in all the way from Mexico. So we'll move on to this exam. Let's see if I can pull this up. That link that I have down below that goes to the NBC website, it should have a download link for this. For those Patreon members, I have provided it in your Patreon account. I don't know if this tells me. Come on. There we go. Ball class for tips interproximal embrasure. Well, let's do the ball class first. Are closely adapted to buccal contours with retentive tips resting in the mesial and interproximal embrasures. Tangs, that's what they call them, tangs, those circles that I do, placed for uniformly 0.5 millimeter off the tissue. And then that's the passive fit. They do a full pallet. I don't think I do full pallets. Maybe I'll do it on this one, I don't know. Alright, so I've already prepped this, but to prep this I would actually scrape right along here, just very lightly, so that those C-clasp can engage. And I'm going to use 036 wire, because I think that's what the standard is for this, is 036 wire. And I said I was going to do the ball class first, but I already got the C-clasp in my hand. So I'm going to mark where it's not touching the tooth anymore. I'll take my bird beaks and I'm going to bend the wire a little bit. And then bend the wire a little bit. Now I do have to go up a little bit. Let me back up just a bit. No, that's not. Back up. Back up. So maybe I can see my actual bending procedures. So it's hitting this tooth here, but I know I need to curve it in just a little bit more. So you got to make sure you put this tip right back in here every single time. So now I'm going to bend. So this is where it's touching the tooth last. So I'm going to put my pliers on the right side of that mark, and then that starts making my occlusion crossover. Again, make sure there's no space here. I'm getting a little bit of space, so I'm going to flatten right here because I think I made it. See how flat this is right here? If if I can put this in the right. Let me mark this. It might help y'all. So it's a little flat right there. So then I'm gonna take my C-clasp and then mark it where it's touching the tooth last in the occlusion. And then I'm gonna bend it down and a little bit in, just a little bit. Or mesial, I guess, if I need to use the right terminology. So I did a little bit of a 3-prong. It's a little high right here, so I'm gonna do a little 3-prong. Nope, I'm not gonna do it. Make sure you keep putting the C-clasp back where you need it every single time. So now I'm gonna start doing the tissue side. It's a little long, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut it. Still too long. See, it's hitting the other side over here. Yeah, Roger's all like, yeah, flat like flat Earth. That's exactly right. Man, I tell you what, I got into that. Oh, that was some fun YouTube videos to watch while you're working, or listen to while you're working. People trying to prove that there's flat Earth, and then you watch the other people that are like, the flat earthers are dumb, don't listen to them, and flat earthers are like, well, look at this test. And you know, I don't have a opinion on it. I just liked watching it. It was neat to see people. What I liked about it was the whole flat Earth thing that was happening. I guess COVID stopped all that. Was people were actually going out and doing tests like you would in high school. They just kind of fell back in love with, you know, the scientific process. You know, setting up lasers, and if you go over a lake that's so long, will the water bend, and all that stuff, you know. So yeah, flat like the flat Earth. It's funny you brought that up. Those y'all let me know. What do y'all listen to when you work? Those that work in Ortho Lab. Most likely y'all don't watch videos, because I know when I was a lab manager, we didn't allow people to watch videos until they were a certain skill level, until they could, what did I do here? Until they could, you know, bend a wire so fast, you know, that they could produce so many retainers an hour. And it's like, don't go watching action thrillers, because you'll get distracted. But documentaries, YouTube videos, something you can just like listen to while you work. But I'm sure podcasts, audiobooks, I've listened to all those while I worked. You know, once you get to a certain point when you're wire bending, you can kind of be on autopilot. Your hands will be on autopilot. So you can just observe. You can just kind of listen to stuff while you work. It helps pass the time. Okay, like this. So I'm gonna just temporarily tack it down. And then it needs to be 0.5 millimeter off the tissue, which that is way more. Huh. Wow, okay. I'm gonna mark it where it's touching last. Can y'all see that? And then I'm gonna take my 3 prongs here. And I am going to, that's what I love about these tiny 3 prongs. You can make adjustments with the wire still on the model. So I'm just kind of bending it right at so then I should be 0.5 millimeter. So you should be able to push on it. See that little movement? That tells you you're going to be able to get acrylic underneath it. So we got one three prong, geez. C-clasp on. I'm going to go ahead and round the end of this one. I got a rubber wheel here. I've been out of metal all day long. Like you're doing, hey, I was watching an Instagram video of you, and you have the most unique way to hold pliers. I think you hold them like this or something. Or like this. Is that right? But you were actually bending wires, and your model holder was a denture flask. Is that right? It looked like a denture flask. But no judgment on wire bending here, doctor. I don't want. I think you've set the scale too high for us. But I bet you're definitely one that could pass this exam with flying colors. So I'm just keeping going back and forth, marking it where it is touching the tooth last, and then bending it more into the tooth. There we go. And then mark it where it's starting to cross, where I need to start crossing the occlusion. Bend this back. So when you say you're doing metal all day long, are you doing soldering and that kind of thing, or just bending wire, which could be the same? Ouch. That didn't really hurt, but the sound did. So you see it, I had to put a little jig in here to go back. I feel like this exposure is bad. I'm trying to get y'all the best picture in here so you can see the good, the bad, and the ugly of my wire bending. Again, so I am going to cut this. Go ahead and cut this. Bend it forward. You can go straight down. I think on this one I did. Kind of straight down. This one I'm going to do kind of how I bend them now. Which they're lenient on the tang part. The part that goes into the acrylic. You can do whatever design you want. As long as it's 0.5 millimeter. As long as it's retentive, it stays in the acrylic. And it's 0.5 millimeter off. Because there's a big undercut here. I don't know if you can see that. I mean, this wire might actually just disappear below it. I can't see it. I'm going to add a little bit more wax there. I don't want it to... my wax tip's dirty. This model's like 20 years old. Still good. But I can see it's been through some rough times. Like I said, when I was starting this, I probably should have duplicated it, but I ran out of time. And I hate duplicating. Because it reminds me of taking impressions, and I don't like taking impressions, and that's why I work in the lab, and I'm not a dental assistant anymore. Dental Things knows about that. I'm sure his students, they take tons of impressions on each other all the time. Alginate, PVS, all that stuff. Hey, Dental Things, I got a question from a dentist, and she was asking, hey, I'm getting skinny teeth in my pour-ups. And what is the first thing you think of when the models, the teeth here, are razor thin? And my thought was they're pulling the impression too soon. But you'd get drag marks and distortions that also, or the alginate is just bad. So, and I told them, she said, well, the last one we did, the alginate material was a little runny, but I don't think that had anything to do with it. I was like, well, I always use measuring cups with alginate. 1 cup powder, 1 cup water. I always use the measuring cups that come with it. So that way, you know, I get the right mixture. So I'm thinking I used to think it was the alginate was absorbing too much water. And so it was swelling, the alginate was. So you pour it up, and so the impression of this swole closer together, so there's less to pour up in there. So I haven't heard back from her to see if any of I wrote a whole big old email, my different suggestions, like, hey, the impression may be breaking if you're bottoming out the teeth in the impression tray, and you go to pull it out, the suction actually will break this side, and they'll go past each other. I've seen that happen before. There we go. We got the C-clasp, the next C-clasp done. Gonna wax it down. The wonderful thing about doing this is if you're just a little off on your wire bending here, again, you got 5 hours, so you can actually take your time, especially if you're pretty fast. Oopsie. There was a guy I went to lab school with. His name was Bart, and his dad was an orthodontist, so he was in the ortho lab since he was a kid, and he was so fast at these retainers. And we actually took the CDT exam together, and I remember he got done within a couple hours, and it was so fast. And then he went back and he did something wrong. He did something completely wrong, and he had to start over from scratch. Still finished within 2 hours. So he actually did 2 sets of these appliances in the 5 hours. Well, all day long at my new place. Oop, I just hit my mic, sorry. I should teach my coworkers how to take impressions. Oh, you got it at the new place, okay. Yeah, if the alginate is distorting because it's not making those noodles through the holes on the tray, the alginate is collapsed and detached from the tray. Okay, I was trying to get to that. I didn't think about it making the noodles through the tray. Some of those trays, like metal trays, have you seen those solid ones? They don't have those holes in them that for retention. I didn't think about that. It was pulling away from the tray and collapsing. I did think maybe the incisal edge of the impression was breaking, and it was, anyway. Could be watery or stiff, not to lock in good, whatever tray they use. I'll email her and see what tray she's using. If it's got those holes in them, and if whenever they're putting spatulating the stuff in, whenever they push it in the mouth, the noodles should come out and then help lock in the front and the side. Good. I knew you were the right person to ask for this. I'll email her back. Actually, I just realized, look at this. Look how short this is compared to this one. So maybe sometimes it's not good to go very fancy. Again, doing my fancy 3-prong trick here. All right, ball clasp. Let's get these done. Save the easiest for the last, right? So according to this, if I go back to here, they want these ball clasps are tipped into the proximal embrasure at a 45-degree angle, then contoured over occlusal embrasure. So that's pretty easy. I like this. This is a good shot of this thing right here. So let's do that. So I've already prepped this. I don't know if you can tell. So at a 45. So I'm going to bend it over. Actually, they prepped that a little bit deeper now that I look at this. This one, so I'm still pretty much at a 45 here. Y'all can see that. I'll go ahead and cut that. Do my tag. Again, you don't have to do what I'm doing on the tag. They could be straight or zigzags, or like this one that my practice one, I did, you know, just U's. I did U-shaped ones. There we go. Not bad. But, you know, you really got to pay attention to your instructions, because they could throw something in there that you're not expecting. And I think that's why this one has an arrow clasp on one side, if you can see that. Because I think we got the model and we got the instructions from our lab school instructors, Dr. Anthony, and he threw that in there in the instructions just to see if anybody's reading them. It was great. The way they trained us in lab school, they would give us actual like prescriptions, like fake prescriptions, and like the names on the prescriptions would be like David Schwimmer or Monica Geller, or you know, that's the ones I remember. They were all friends, Brad Pitt or something. They all had fake names, and but they would say, please make a Hawley, put a ball clasp between the upper left 4 and 5, put an arrow clasp upper right 4 and 5, full palette acrylic. I mean, they really made sure that you were reading the instructions. But you can see, you know, I'm already an hour into this, right? But I'm also talking and I'm showing things, and of course I talked for a long time before I even started. But you know, maybe 30 minutes for the wires, and that's just to make sure that they're exactly where the examiners would want them. I think this might poke out of the acrylic the way that is. You see how it's flared out. That's one of the bad things about doing the way I do my tags, whatever, is your loop may get a little wary. There goes, I don't think that's Pete. That might be Little Red. There's Pete. I don't know if y'all can hear that or not. Yeah, that's Little Red. I don't have a picture of Little Red, but there's Pete. Perfect timing. They're just crowing at each other now. Okay, so some things I see This one I like. I think it's a perfect 90 degree. This one has a little bit of a tilt forward to it. So I might get marked off for that. And actually, look, my mark is, I'm too high above my mark there. So I actually need to adjust this labial bow. I don't think I can adjust that after the acrylic if they're that tall. So if I push this down to where it really needs to be. So what I've done is I've reheated the wax here. Yeah, let me take this off. See if I can do a little bit of adjustment. Remember, I'm not getting graded on this except for y'all. Y'all are probably grading me. But I want to do it like I would in real life if I was taking an exam. Of course, I was talking a lot during this. And the proctor that's watching you take this exam doesn't really talk to you except for make sure you're not cheating. Like, hey, I think every once in a while, like even in the written exam, they'll say, hey, can you spin the camera around and show the room that's around you? You know, like, hey, show your surroundings so that there's nobody in there watching you take this exam or helping you take this exam. So I am trying to finish off this exam model. I'd want to see, I'm looking at the vertical of this one compared to the vertical of this one. This one is just a tall loop. I don't know, I guess I didn't adjust it like the other one did. So let me see if I can just curl this loop down a little bit right here. So what I did is I took my 3-prong and I put it right there, right at this juncture right here, and it kind of curved it down. Now what that's going to do is actually make this loop skinny. So I kind of got to open it right back up. So this is going to change where this is at. See, this is so much more taller now in the embrasure. So I'm going to bend this over a little bit, like that. Now, you do not want to do this too much on a real retainer because you can make this labial bow weak, because I'm about to unbend this joint right here. I'm going to do it real gently. All right. That way I don't damage that turn too much. Put it in here. So I'm putting this down, I'm holding it with my thumb as I'm working over here. Make my mark. This makes me think that this model is not the official model that's in those pictures, because these canines are not near as tall. And I think I made the mistake of using my tall loop formers instead of my normal height loop formers. And so now I'm having to go back and adjust these things. So definitely, and maybe I should have even, you know, used my bird beaks. I think I did a live stream not too long ago on can I bend a labial bow with just my bird beaks. Which is a good technique to learn. Okay, that looks way better. Yeah, I'm liking that. Shouldn't be touching the tissue over here. It's not touching the tissue over here. It's a little long on this side now. Because I remember I had to take that and elongate it. So I shortened it here, right? So then it kind of transferred that length around the corner and through here. So I'm actually going to cut a little bit of this loop off and then re-loop it up. There. Put my wax back on. Okay. You know, as I notice, I've bent these like I'm going to do a horseshoe, but I think with the acrylic, I'm going to try to do this again. Not full palette. I don't really want to do full palette. I hate full palette, but that's how they show it in the pictures. So maybe we'll do full palette. But let me get set up. I'm just going to maybe set my camera over here. Hang with me. I know we're over an hour, so I'm gonna sprinkle the acrylic, and then we'll end it there. So if you have any remaining questions, let me know. I will continue the live stream over on the Patreon channel, and we'll finish it out. We'll trim it, we'll pumice it, and we'll finish it out there. So if you're interested in the rest of this, then check out the Patreon. The link's down below. But let me get set up over here and see if I can do my acrylic over here. But yeah, I won't bore y'all with the acrylic part of this. So those that are really interested in CDT exam, you can check out my Patreon. Patreon is pretty much where I'm just going to be putting all my videos that is going to go into the online course that I'm trying to build. They're not going to be in any really order, but you'll have access to them early. So if y'all are interested in that, you can check that out. So let me get my wireless camera here. Hopefully it does not. Let me get it over here. So hopefully it doesn't spaz out on me. All right, let's sprinkle this. It is this one. All right, I don't have my name. Let me show you that now that I've blocked this. I don't know if I've showed y'all this before, but I have my little P-Touch labeler here. Let me zoom out a bit so you can see. Nope, that's zooming in. Zoom out. I'll turn this on. I'm just going to say Cade. No, let's do retainer designer. That's going to be super long. But let's try. Now, one thing I've done is I've switched from the black ink to white ink, and it just shows up so much better on more of the colors that we have, especially when I do black. The white really looks good. The only time it doesn't show up is when I use white acrylic, but this still shows up in the white acrylic, whereas if I was using the black, just in the different, because the whites are so different. So then I just cut this. So in state of Texas, we do have to put the names in these retainers. So I'm used to doing this. What my wife does is she'll print all the names up while she's checking them in. And she's got one of these P-Touch labelers that's connected to the computer. So she can print, a dozen of these names at a time, cut them all out, and then she sticks them to the case pan. But all right, let's go into sprinkling this. So yeah, I'll try to do full palette, blah, but just for those that need it, I'm going to use just standard pink. I don't think that they require a certain color. I might have to see if I can get my hands on the newest edition of the exam materials and see what they say. For like A, can it be full palette or horseshoe? B, can it be any color you want? And I kind of think that they may require it to be, you know, a translucent color so they can see your wires on the inside. But they can probably tell that where your wires are. The examiners, I mean. I'm having the hardest time making the full palette. Alright, I got this part down. I'm about to just fill in the full palette part later. I'm just doing the normal. So this is cold cure acrylic. It's pretty much standard in our industry. And that means it does not need heat to set up. It will bench cure. It will, I've also heard it called bench cure, meaning you can just put these two, the powder and liquid together, and the reaction starts. The initiator and activator are all built into the powder and the liquid. And whereas like dentures, a lot of them are heat cured, which means it will never leave the doughy stage, which right now this is kind of in the doughy stage. But give it 10 minutes and it will set up and be hard. But we do put them in a pressure pot, and the pressure pot is I think 120 Fahrenheit is where it's set. So I'm patting this with my finger. Use gloves if, you know, acrylic bothers you. So let's do the full palette part. I'm trying to make this as even as possible, thickness wise. Somebody asked, do you refrigerate your clear monomer? And I haven't been doing it lately, but I noticed, you know what, I kind of need to. Some of my splints that I've been doing have been coming out with a lot of little air bubbles, and that means it's setting up too fast on me. So that's the pressure pot. Helps to, if you get it in the pressure pot early enough, before the polymerization really starts kicking in, you can prevent a lot of the little bubbles from forming, and it's crystal clear. And also the heat in the pressure pot helps to set this acrylic up faster. So that's why you put, if you need more time with your acrylic, put your monomer in the fridge, and then that way it'll retard the what am I trying to say, the chemical reaction that's going on right now. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this. Let me know in the comments if y'all do a lot of full palettes like this. I don't do much or any at all. I think the doctors just leave it up to me, and I try to make it, I just don't feel like this is comfortable. Now, retention-wise, probably a little bit better, but comfort-wise, it's not. So hopefully you can see I've got an even thickness all the way around, and that can go. I'll put a little powder in here to help freeze it, to keep it from slumping. But this will go into the pressure pot. Now, this is my brand new pressure pot. Oh, already got something in there. Put that in the water. I put this on the cup because I did not soak the model. So, if I put it in the water before the acrylic is cured, I'll get bubbles that bubble up through the stone and into the acrylic. Okay, let's turn this off, and we will call it quits there. For you watching on, well, if you can see me, there you go, here I am. We'll call it quits there. Hopefully y'all found this informative. Y'all have learned a little bit that there is a CDT exam for dental lab technicians. Whether you're ortho, denture, they got 6 specialties, I believe. So it's crown and bridge, ceramics, implants, dentures. I don't know if they have removable partial denture or not. I think they do. And then they've added a new one, which is called digital design. And I'm proud of that one because I helped a little bit with that when I was on the national board, NBC, the national, hello Pete, National Board of Certification. So it's actually this newest branch of digital dentistry that we're getting. You know, designing dentures digitally, designing crowns digitally, designing splints digitally, and models. So that makes me wonder if they're actually doing study models now, so you don't have to actually create this study model and bring it with you to the exam, or actually you ship it in because it's remote. It's remote learning now. So, so just, you know, hopefully that was interesting to y'all. That is an actual exam model, I think. They may change them a little bit from year to year. I'm not sure. I know they changed the questions a little bit from year to year. But I think it's still, just as far as an overview, you still have to do that upper, a lower with a screw, a sagittal screw in it, and a lingual arch with spurs. And actually, you actually have to do a second model of this with the bands by themselves, so they can judge you on your bands before you solder and ruin the model. But that's it. So it's in 3 parts. It's a comprehensive exam. Which covers all of dental lab technology, tooth morphology, theory, that kind of stuff. And then it's a specialty appliance, or a specialty exam, written exam. It's like 80 questions, I believe, or 60 questions, and it just pertains to your specialty. So when you take your CDT, you claim your specialty that you're going to take. So in this case, it's ortho, and the specialty is ortho. I just said that twice. Anyway, I hope that this helped those that are watching. Those that are Patreon members, again, thank you for your support. That's where this idea came from. Somebody asked me about the CDT exam. She was interested in taking it. She wanted access to my designerretainer.com, which is my blog where I dumped a lot of archive videos and stuff. And as a Patreon member, you get access to that. I'm not trying to sell that to y'all. It sounds like I am, but I'm trying to tell you where it all came from. But what we're going to do is we'll end this stream here, but I'll continue the Patreon stream, and we'll trim this, we'll pumice it and stuff. Shouldn't take too long. Shouldn't be too bad, but I got to set up some cameras while we're waiting. So until then, I want to thank everybody for watching. Let me get my fancy outro music going. Getting it ready. Here we go. And actually, I'm getting thirsty. So until next time, everyone, happy bending.